our beliefs are so much of a filter. And so, like, how much of a filter is that? In other words, we look through our what should I call it, our experiential foundation, and we probably look through our parents' experiential foundation and our grandparents, and that's the whole thing we were talking about, is a mental pattern of a culture, a family, a tribe, and so on.
I find I'm coming to the end of my career, and I've been teaching in my department for 33 years in philosophy and religious studies, and I have good colleagues, really very good colleagues who are very skilled in their work. And at the same time, my impression as I'm coming out of this work is that much philosophical reflection is based upon very superficial psychological awareness. That basically many of our theories and many of our postulates and many of our observations are based upon a very superficial experience of one's own mind. Because in our universities, we teach our students how to do all sorts of things with their mind, how to design buildings and write poems and do this and that, but we don't really teach our students how to have a deeper experience of their own mind. We don't fold consciousness back upon itself and use our awareness to have a deeper experience of what it is that consciousness is. And as a result, much of our thinking about consciousness and speculations about consciousness are very skin deep, are very, very superficial. It's a very different agenda to actually, before theory, to actually deepen the experience of mind itself, to spend years and years and years exploring the nature of consciousness itself, and then maybe draw some theoretical conclusions from it.
Is that a trend that's changing? I mean, I used to say that some years ago, that we just learn in college, how to play with thoughts, and then we never get any deeper than that to find out what they are. We just assume that that's all, what life is made out of. And we assume that, okay, let's just call it a verbal model. Mm-hmm. College is all, the university, I'm an engineer actually, the university has a strict belief that the material world is out there, and we have to make ourselves adequate to it, and we do it by making a verbal model, and our verbal models are pretty good, and they're not one-to-one, because otherwise nothing could change, if everything was fixed, how would we ever get a better explanation or a new formula or a better formulate a new compound or make anything different, so there has to be a certain amount of flux. But it's a rock-solid belief that what we say is true, or damn close to it. And even if we say 11 dimensions that don't really play in anybody's life, not even the scientist that's saying it. It just plays in his formula. Of course, his formula is mathematics. Mathematics have imaginary numbers. The square root of -1. Is an imaginary number, and it doesn't show up anywhere except in a kind of like a system, like a theoretical system called mathematics. And that part doesn't work in the world, and so then they just make up I, and that's a little fixer there,
If you add in the question, is it getting better at universities today? I think it's slowly beginning to get a bit better, but in general, it's not much better right now. I mean, if I look at courses that are being used in Introduction to Philosophy, I still think the fundamental paradigm that is reflected in those textbooks, things are not much better. And it's kind of become, it's kind of embarrassing. I think, for example, the Dalai Lama is, he's a wonderful spokesman, not only for his particular spiritual tradition, but he's so ecumenical and that he kind of has brought to the fore the deep spiritual aspect of many religious traditions. And I think the superficiality or the thinness of much of the Western intellectual tradition, when juxtaposed to the great depth that comes out of these experientially oriented traditions, all of which hold that wisdom only begins when you learn to turn off thoughts. That if you haven't learned to turn off thought, then you're trapped within the desert of thought. I think that we are becoming, the universities are becoming kind of more self-aware, and frankly, they should be embarrassed.